We're talking today with fine artist Ya'qub Shabazz. We're asking him some of the hardest questions he's ever been asked about life. We're also talking about the role of teaching artistry on incarcerated youth and the rest of society, and capturing moments for the future. Hi, I'm Larry Moss, and I'd like to welcome you to Brush with Knowledge. Throughout this series, we're going to explore the role of teaching artistry as a tool to transform education and ignite your imagination. In each episode, we'll highlight the work of a different teaching artist and offer ideas that you can use in your own classrooms, meetings, and even the larger communities you serve and live in. Welcome, Ya'qub. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, I'm going to start a little differently than I usually do. Yes, I normally start by asking guests to introduce themselves and talk a little bit about their work. Mm-hmm. I want to, for you, you're an art historian, art history buff. I want to know what your favorite piece of art is out in the world.
Oh, wow. How much time you got? That's a tough one.
You get to pick one.
Let's see. I want to say it would be one of the pieces by Lois Mailou Jones. There's one piece that she did. She's a Harlem Renaissance artist. She taught for many years, close to 70 years almost she taught. But there's one piece, a watercolor piece that she did on a banana plantation in Haiti. She took a trip to Haiti. She traveled to Africa and Haiti. And there's a watercolor piece. I can't remember the name of it because I like everything that she's ever touched. But that piece sticks out with me. But to pick one, that's not fair, man. Come on,
Well, the reason I asked is, a lot of people will pick one of the classic paintings that everybody's seen. And in my conversations with you in the past, I know that you have been inspired by artists all over. And I thought talking about art that interests you would give us a greater insight into who you are.
Well, I can say this. I'll go beyond visual art a little bit. So Lois Mailou Jones is a favorite. Lately, the last 3 months, I've been really exploring Sargent, his watercolors, some of his oil paintings, and just his whole presentation. That piece, he's really good with me. And in music, this past week, this is new. I've been listening to. There was a moment where James Brown, Bobby Blue Bland, and B.B. King were on stage together at the same time.
Wow.
And they performed a medley together. And that song, that combination of Mississippi, Tennessee, and Georgia really embodies the culture that I was born into. And it's inspired my painting. I never paint without music. So I listened to that song probably 20 or 30 times in the last week. So yeah, Bobby Blue Bland, James Brown, and B.B. King.
That works for me.
And Lois Mailou Jones, anything. That's a tough question to ask one. It's like, which one of your kids is the favorite? I love them all. I can't pick one.
No, but I thought I'd start with a tough one.
Yeah.
So did you start your career in the art world as a creator or as a historian? What got you going? My art career started actually from literature. I was reading a lot of history, not necessarily just art history, but world history and cultural history, American history, the history of my people, Black people in America and around the globe. And I learned so much, and I read so many books, obscure books. I remember reading Will Durant's History of Civilization, the 4 volumes, and you're hard-pressed to find a person to walk up and have a conversation with. Hey, did you read Christ and Caesar? Do you remember chapter 7 of Christ? People didn't read those books, don't read those books unless a professor forces them to. So I would read these books for, entertainment and just a thirst for knowledge. So after reading all these books over the years, art became a release valve
I was a pressure cooker of information, and I started painting to release some of the information. So I went from painting African masks to West African Adinkra symbols to cultural symbols from the United States and around the world. So the art was an outgrowth of literature, exploration in literature.
Interesting.
Yes.
So you did, and you said you started to paint. That's the work of yours that I know best,
Yes.
but I also know that you do more than just paint.
Yes. I carve wood. Every medium, I touch every medium. Not saying I'm the best at every medium, but I explore, and I'm always seeking knowledge and trying to improve. So I find I have mentors of all ages that I watch and I learn from. I'm full of questions.
Well, what's the most unusual medium you've worked with?
Oh boy, most unusual. I'm gonna say, and I'm kind of falling in love with it, watercolor. Because for many years I avoided watercolor, and I was attracted to oil because you can control oil, and watercolor gets away from you. Especially doing wet on wet, it can escape you. You can't have full control. You got to just kind of let it go and relax and settle into it. And I didn't have that gear. I was go, 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 go. So watercolor, I didn't have the freedom. I didn't give myself the freedom to explore watercolors.
So with all of the things that you create, you play, you said it's a release for you.
Absolutely.
It's the creation of something that really lets you explore and play and be comfortable. And what do you think of your work when you're done? I mean, you sell your work. Is your goal then to get it out there, or do you enjoy it for moving on after you've completed a piece?
I enjoy it. And a lot of times I have regret when I sell a piece. You know that feeling when
totally.
You put a lot of time into a piece, many hours, you get it, you fall in love with it. A lot of times in the past, this is part of my history, I would paint a piece and I can't stand it. I don't like it. And I put it on the wall and I walk past it enough times and I start to fall in love with it. And then I really love it. And then somebody comes and buys it. And it's like, we had this long relationship. And then somebody came and just broke that relationship. And the money is not as valuable as the art. The money is fleeting. It goes into the gas tank. It goes to, in your stomach. It goes to bills. Whatever it is, to buy more paint, to create more art. So the artwork is invaluable to the artist, I think. And to me, I feel that way as well.
But it's nice. I mean, yes, the money may not satisfy the desire to have the art, but it's kind of cool to know that somebody else now owns it and cares about it and can appreciate it as much as you. And I know I love that now I've made room for the next piece. Yeah. Once that's sold. Yeah.
It becomes a part of you, as an artist, become a part, or the person who purchased it is now a part of my legacy. And theirs. So their children, there's a quick story. One year at the MLK event in downtown Rochester, a young man approached. I had a table set up, and I had some wood carvings there. And there was a carving of Malcolm X. It was a portrait carved into wood. And he approached with his pregnant wife and his mother-in-law. And he wanted that piece bad, but he couldn't afford it. So I gave him the piece for, I don't know, $20 or something. He said, this is all I have. And I gave it to him. And he was, thank you. So, he was just hugging me and he was excited because he really wanted it. And I said, now we're linked forever, because when that baby is born and grows up, they're going to say, what is that thing that Dad always had on the wall all those years when I was growing up? Oh, that's it. He got this from this guy. Some guy from Chicago was in Rochester selling wood carvings. And then he talked to him about being in his life forever. So your legacy, we're linked, so that's the unique and beautiful part about being an artist, creating artwork.
Well, you've just demonstrated one of the things that I wanted to bring up about you, and all artists are storytellers as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't matter if it's a book, a theatrical work, a dance, there's a story behind all of it. All of your paintings tell stories. You are also an engaging speaker. So when we talk storyteller, it could be through the art, it could be through your presentations. What I'd like to get into here is some of the themes and topics that you tell stories about. And I'm curious, since you work in so many different types of media, are your stories, do you tell different stories? Do you hit different themes in one medium versus another, in painting versus speaking?
Yeah. It's interesting, the storyteller piece, and I get that a lot. You're such a great storyteller. I, as a person who's acknowledged as a storyteller, I'm really only sharing my reality, my life, my experiences. A lot of the people that are in my stories are still alive. I'm still in communication with them, but people hear them and they're like, "Oh, it's so dynamic. Did this really happen?" Like, yeah, you can follow him on Facebook. Here he is right here, or here she is right here. So the art of sharing those stories, it goes back to my family. My grandparents passed away in the 50s. I never met my grandmother and my grandfather. And I don't have not a cuff link, a watch, ring, nothing from that generation. There's 2 pictures of my grandparents that exist. And I always wanted something. There's a hole in my heart to this day that I sought to fill as an adult and still do with my family lineage, the legacy of my family. So I interviewed my aunts, my mother, some cousins. This was several years back. And I started work on the ethnography about my family experience. And I learned a lot. And I have another cousin that got involved with doing some similar work in my family and piecing the story of us together. And we were able to trace ourselves back to the early 19th century. And I don't know, those narratives and those conversations having with them, I saw myself in my aunts. And then my uncle and my cousins, my older aunts and cousins, when they were telling me those stories. And that inspires me as a storyteller. And giving a little bit of yourself to other people is it's beneficial. They can take that piece and, plant it and grow something,
Have you gotten enough in that history to be able to paint your grandparents or anybody else in your family?
Oh yeah. I've seen some scenes, some snapshots from my mother's childhood, from my aunt's childhood. I got enough. Yeah, I got plenty.
Have you done that yet? Painted them?
Yes, I reimagined my aunt. I did a portrait of my grandmother, and I imagined her as a teenager. And I took that one picture that I have of her. It's a grainy black and white picture. It's got a rip in it. This picture is from the it's from the late 1940s, I'm assuming. And I took that image and then I looked at my aunts and I kind of superimposed all of their faces together. And when my one aunt saw it, she said, "Wow, that looks like one of their aunts." And said, "It does look like Mama a little bit, but it kind of looks like this person." And I've never seen that person either. They passed away in the 50s as well. So I'll keep plugging away at it until I figure it out,
Awesome.
Yeah.
So one of the things that teaching artistry can do is break down the barriers that are faced by some communities in accessing art. And I know that also is something that's really important to you. Specifically, you use art to reach incarcerated youth.
Yes.
How did that come about?
It started, myself I was a young person incarcerated, not here, but I can say that I used to go into the prisons in the state of Wisconsin, and I worked with returning prisoners for many years in Madison, Wisconsin. And my work with returning prisoners, people coming out trying to put their lives together, helping them to find housing, jobs, peace of mind, self-esteem, put the pieces of their lives back together. I worked with a great team at an organization now called Just Dane. It used to be called Madison Area Urban Ministries. And I worked as a case manager, group facilitator, outreach person. I would go into the prisons, have these conversations, talk about life skills, talk about having babies, talk about getting out, getting a job, being a felon, and what that stigma feels like on the inside. And I did that for many years. There was no art involved. And then fast forward many years, I live in New York State. with my wife. My wife and I moved here. She's from New York. And I got a grant through Wave Farm, which led to me teaching at a youth institution. And I worked with young incarcerated people. It was what appeared to be a maximum security youth facility. And some of the kids in my class were as young as 15 years old. And some of them faced a great deal of time in the 20s and years and above. And I witnessed these young people, I witnessed them transform. I'll tell a quick story. And I just shared the story today to somebody else, but it's an important one. I had a young man in my class, first class gangbanger, right? He's a Spanish-speaking kid, and nobody in that institution spoke Spanish. Not one person, not staff or other prisoners spoke Spanish. So he comes into the class the first day, and he sits back with his arms closed like this, and he's looking right through me, the whole class. He didn't say a word, didn't touch the paint, didn't touch the supplies, stared at me the whole class. The next day, the next class, he comes in, does the same thing, nothing. The third class comes, he comes in, he sits down, has his arms closed, and I'm happy the class is going, everybody's moving, and I leaned over to him and I whispered in his ear, I said, "You're lazy." And then I just went back to being happy. Hey, everybody, and it just, his wheels were turning. What? What is he talking about? What is this dude? So that class ended. He came back to the next class. I whispered in his ear again, "I don't think you can do this." And then I kept going. Now that class, they wanted to kick him out. And I told the staff, don't kick him out. Leave him. I like kids like this. I like this kid. He came back. He said, "What do you think I can't do?" And I said, "I don't know." I said, "Let's figure it out. Pick up the pastels. Don't touch the paint. You don't have to paint." And he did a totally separate class from the rest of the group. I would give him something. I said, "Just write words, whatever you want." And he's writing gang stuff. And I walk over and put my finger on it. That right there, that's going to give you some more time. He said, "You don't know what that is?" I know exactly what that is. I know a lot about that. And then we go back and forth. Blah, 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 blah. He comes back to the next class and he said, "What if I did paint? What do I paint?" Now I got him. And then I said, "Just paint a circle, a ball on the table with a little bit of shadow like this." I said, "You saw them do it." And he started doing just that on his own. The class kept going. He kept coming, started participating more and more. That segment ended, and it was time to move to the next section, and there was a new group going to come in, and I told him, "No, let that kid come back again." He came back again, and he stayed with me the entire time. I can't remember how many weeks I did last year, but he stayed the entire time and became one of the best students in the class. Just from me challenging him and pushing his buttons, the same way that he pushes other people, but I became like a big brother to him, and he became like a little brother to me. You know, in the last day, that kid, when I left, he gave me a hug, and he was almost in tears. And the art did that. It wasn't just me. It was the art. That was the vehicle that led to the relationship.
So you made a connection.
A big time.
You got him interested in the art. You got him to make things.
Yeah.
Did you follow him later? Do you know?
I couldn't. Yeah, yeah.
So we don't actually know what impacts.
Well, no, I don't know what went on, but I did tell him, because he didn't read English very well. He read in Spanish. And he wrote poetry, I found out over the weeks. And I had him to start writing the poems and doing a small sketch to go with the poem. And he would come in the class and he had one with him, and he's like, "Check that out." And it's in Spanish. And I'm like, "Man, you know I don't read Spanish, man. You got to translate that for me." He said, "You can read it." And he'd make me try it. So he was teaching me Spanish. I was teaching him art. And it became this exchange. So, and I had that similar relationship with several of the young people in the class. So that's a connection that comes from art.
Well, and that point right there, you already made a reference to mentorship. And one of the things that I have always said about mentorship is, to me, mentorship is really two ways. I hate the mentor-mentee idea. So him teaching you Spanish, it made him feel powerful and useful, and saw you learning as the grown-up in the room.
Yeah,
you were getting from him, and cool.
Yeah. And it was there were several young men in there that I built those relationships with, and I say that art is a perfect vehicle, and we know this from music. For example, music is art as well. We know that people make connections around music. So just today, I was talking to a man who's probably my senior by 15 years or 20 years, and he was talking about music. He's an art teacher, and he was talking about music, and he said, yeah, you know, that punk era, that's kind of where, you know, I kind of cut my teeth. And I said, which era of punk? I said, the Ramones. And he's like, how did this, you know, this black dude know about the Ramones? You listen to punk? I listen to everything. I listen to everything. I look at everything because we have those human connections. My wife laughs at me sometimes. I'll watch a movie 3 or 4 times, 3 or 4 or 5 times, sometimes more. And because, first of all, I'm never just watching a movie. I'm multitasking or I'll fall asleep. But I watch a movie 3 or 4 times and I pick up these pieces because you'll bring that movie up one day, and I have a blessing and a curse with a memory that just won't go away. So you'll say one day, hey, did you see Caddyshack? Yeah, I saw it like 8 times. So yes, I saw Caddyshack. Did you see Menace to Society? I saw Menace to Society like 30 times. So I can connect with people with those little bits of information. So I'm also a pop culture. I know a lot about pop culture. Not too much the new stuff. I'm getting old. The newer stuff, I'm a little lost.
All right. You said you can't follow an individual after you've taught them if they're in that prison environment.
Yeah, you lose it.
Have you had the opportunity in general to be able to see what kind of impact you're making?
Yeah. Over the years, people that I've worked with in the past, as far back as 15, 18 years ago, have found me on Facebook, and they send me a message and like, oh man, thank you, you changed my life, and I've had those encounters. There's a young man here who was in my class inside the institution there, and got out, and we have a relationship. He's on his feet now and doing well. But yeah, those relationships, how can you not reach out to somebody that, had an impact on you? And I always point to the art and I say, look at that. Look at what that did. Look what that did for us. This was the vehicle that brought us together. Right. And if we continue to do that after, we'll just get closer and closer. Right. And it'll help you to get closer and closer to other people. So, yeah, it's a good thing. I love how art brings people together like that.
Have you noticed a difference in impact between those that are institutionalized and those that are not, just in the community that you work with?
The difference, the people that are in the institutions, I'm currently working at an adult facility, and I think they take it more seriously than the people that are in the community. And I think that they are they're more locked into the story that needs to be told, because the emotion is so raw. If I'm in prison, I miss my wife, I miss my children, I miss my mother, I miss Burger King, I miss whatever it is. They're so in tune to the depth of loss. There a lot of them that I found are very remorseful for what they've done. And those emotions are on the surface. So when they start to talk about what they want to create, they just have to get the visual language in order to, put that together. A lot of them don't have that visual arts language to say, I'm going to paint this, or I'm going to sketch this, or I'm going to use pastels for this. But the story is intact. The story is intact. Yeah.
So who have you worked with that's had that impact on you, that drove your career? You talked about people you read. Mm-hmm. You talked about artists that you've seen.
Yeah.
But was there anybody in your life that did that to you?
Yes. I'm going to say RIT professor, my friend Levon Shepard. He's been a tremendous mentor and friend for me. And I would say in the 5 or so years that I've known him, my art has changed tremendously. I have changed tremendously after meeting him. I would say there's a professor, and we're talking about just art, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Levon Shepard has been the biggest. And then I meet people all the time that have an impact on me, like Richmond Futch Jr. And Richmond Futch Jr.
Yeah.
Tremendous, had a great, and these are my elders and I listen to them, and I take advice from them. I take critiques from them. I take critiques from everybody. I got thick skin. I'm a Chicago dude, so I invite critiques. I'm like, give it to me. So I ask these people for critiques, and they give it to me straight. Now there are other artists in the city of Rochester that inspire me, that are my peers, that are in my era, this era of arts in Rochester, like Brittany Williams, Erica Bryant, Rashad Parker. I'm gonna say a name. Don't tell nobody I said this. Keep this between us. Blue Seas. He gives me a lot of information. We go back and forth and have great conversations behind the scenes, right? So, those are just a few of the people, but there are many more. If I didn't say your name, forgive me, but it's a lot of people out there that I get inspiration
Well, you left me out.
Oh, Larry. I forgot about Larry. No, Larry, rewind that. Edit. Let's edit that.
No. I will say, though, that as somebody that had an opportunity to sit in your class.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right. You did take a class with me.
I did, and I experienced all of the things you're talking about, and really enjoyed the learning. And it was looking at the art in a different way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
So that's actually how I got to know you. I first heard you speaking in your stories over a canvas. Mm-hmm. And immediately I think I walked out and said, this is a teaching artist. This is somebody that... Yeah. So you hit my definition of a teaching artist. Mm-hmm. I would love to know, another tough question. Mm-hmm. I'm going to ask you to define a teaching artist.
Define a teaching artist.
What does that mean to you?
A teaching artist. Well, first of all, you have to be active in teaching. And big piece, you have to be active in learning, because none of us have it all the way together. None of us got it. We don't have it all. You ain't got the answer, Sway, right? We don't got that. We want to continuously be in the process of growing, and in that growth, we become more effective as teachers. So a teaching artist is a person who's constantly learning and sharing. If it's like a point guard, passes the ball, lead the league in assists. The teacher leads the league in assists, not scoring. The student is the one that's scoring. So you have to lead the league in assists. And you can only assist by getting the ball. So you got to keep learning and practicing it. But a teaching artist has to be active. I don't think that you can rest on your heels when you're not in the classroom teaching. You should be in the books or in front of that easel or doing whatever medium you're working with, and just trying to perfect the craft. Even though it's something I believe, this is just my belief, I don't think I'll ever perfect it in my life. I won't perfect what I'm doing in my lifetime, but I'll just keep chasing that dream. And as long as I'm chasing it, I'm able and willing to share it. That makes me a teaching artist. But you have to be active. If you're just kind of casual, can I throw something else in there? Teaching artist.
Go ahead.
My son and my daughter, I teach them, right? I think if you're a parent and you're active and promoting the arts in your home, you're a teaching artist too. You might not be out there making money doing it and stuff like that, but if you took the time to buy some little easels, buy some paints and supplies, you got it on deck in the house, that makes you a teaching artist too. And not in a professional sense, but you get where I'm going with that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's teaching through the arts. At least my definition of teaching artist isn't just teaching art, but teaching through the arts. So all of the things you've talked about, the history, the emotion, that's all really important stuff.
Yeah.
Is your passion more on the teaching side or the art creation side?
I think they go together, because like I said, you're constantly learning in this loop where you're just learning, picking up information. I learn a lot from the people that are sitting in front of me when I'm teaching. I learn a lot from them. So sometimes I go back and implement them. So I implement the information in the sometimes it's not even spoken. It's a spiritual connection. The things that I learn and the emotions that I feel that's given to me, I go back and I sit down in front of the canvas alone, and then it comes back out. So I'm filtering what I'm getting. So it goes both ways. It kind of goes both ways.
Did you know that this is what you wanted to do, was teaching artistry?
No. No, I didn't. I told you I started off, I worked for the Urban League. I was a case manager, group facilitator. Did that for some years. Worked at MUMS, Madison Area Urban Ministry. Case manager, group facilitator. Did that, going into prisons, doing that work. I was a case manager, and I would get off work. Get this. I would get off work. I would go home, and one Saturday morning, I just had a feeling that I could paint. Never painted before in my life. I'm going to tell you something about that in a second, but never painted before in my life. And I just got up and went to Hobby Lobby. I bought a few tubes of paint, one brush, and a pack of tear-out canvases. And I had oil and acrylic paint, craft paint, all kind of stuff. And I just started painting on these things, just whatever. And I just felt that I had a feeling that I could paint. This was 20 years ago. And I just had, and I would do it quietly and silently. Nobody knew I did it until one day, one of my colleagues, his name is Joshua Clower. He wrote a book, and I'm in that book actually. It's terrible, I can't remember the name of it, but he wrote a book, and he passed away last year. And I didn't find out until another former colleague visited Rochester for a convention, and he brought a copy of the book and he gave it to me. And he said, "You're all over this book," and he gave it to me because Josh was a friend. He came to my house and he saw a painting that I just finished on the counter. And he said, "Hey, man, where you get that?" And I said, "I painted it." He said, "Man, you ain't paint that." I said, "I painted it. It's still wet." He said, "If you painted it, give it to me." I said, "You can have it." He said, "Sign it first." And when I signed it, you know what he said? He held it up and he said, "I got the first one." He said, "I got the first one."
That's an origin story.
Yeah, and he hung it over his mantle. And it was there, you know, he had it. And then I found out he passed away last year. I hadn't spoken to him in about a year. And I knew he was struggling with cancer. And he passed away, unfortunately. But he got my first piece, and I know where my second piece went. Another friend, Sally, he was one of my best friends in the world. He just died a month ago from cancer. And terrible loss. But he got my first wood carving. I gave it to him, and he was my biggest supporter when I didn't think I was good, and I was kind of just like hiding it, and I did it at home and nobody saw my work. He was the one that was pushing it forward, like, "Do another one, do another one." He's my biggest cheerleader in the world, and you know that gave me a lot of inspiration. So those two people were big inspirations for me.
Okay, so those are people that pushed you.
Yeah.
How would you today expand opportunities for teaching artists in the community, for other people?
Well, I think it all boils down to economics. We have to get the public and institutions, libraries, Rochester School District, and other institutions in the city to understand the value of what we have here as artists to this city. A city without art is a very dark place. Gotham City almost, right?
Yeah.
So we need art, and we have to get them to understand the value of it and the impact that it has on our youth, the impact that it has on our mental health as adults, the impact that it has on our walls, the impact that it has on just the aesthetic of the entire city. So to get more people teaching, we have to get these institutions to understand that they have to pay. You cannot bring Larry in and Ya'qub in and whoever else in to teach a painting class or whatever kind of art class for, you know, say there's 30 people in a class and you say, "I got $200. That's not enough to cover supplies. And you're discouraging people from taking that path. You know, another thing is opening up the channels to academia and the institutions reaching out into the community and having some community-based workshops. Like I said, Mr. Shepard, I met Mr. Shepard at Joy Gallery. Somebody took me there, and I've been stuck there ever since. That art that connects people, right? So I went there just on a whim with another guy who's an artist. And that guy wasn't there as much after that, but I never left. Through the pandemic and everything, I never left. And led me down that path. So opening up the channels to the community, learning the value of it, the economic value, like you have to pay artists. Artists have to get paid. Artists have to get paid.
Yes.
Artists have to get paid, or you won't have artists. It's that simple, you know. And so opening it up, letting people know that letting the community know and understand the value of what they have here. What would this city be without Sean Dunwoody, a frame? He lives in Brooklyn now. He left, right?
But he still comes back.
He still comes back. But what would this city be without them? We wouldn't have that. We wouldn't have that Malcolm X and that John Lewis, Dunwoody's murals all over the city, like Brittany Williams, her murals, like, and not just the muralists. Erica Bryant with her collage work. Me with what I do. It's like imagine if all of us just went to Binghamton or something. All of us got up and left. What would this look like? Blue, he got up and left. What if you and your wife got up and left? The landscape would be dark. You know? So, yeah, so convincing them and letting them, not convincing them, we got to force their hand in a way to make them understand the value of what they have here. Or this relationship is going to end. Just like he moved to New York City, you'll lose me back to Chicago. One of them institutions that called me from Chicago. See, I planted the seed in Rochester, and another big city will say, hey, leave that little town. Get away from them. And this is a great city. I say this a lot. Rochester is a great city, but it's a great city with low self-esteem. And I'm not from here. I'm from Chicago. I'm an outsider. But when I look at the city of Rochester, the people made me fall in love with the city of Rochester. Not the city itself, the people. And it's such a beautiful city. But everybody that you meet is like, oh, it's terrible. Oh, downtown, the city. And I said, shut up. This city is great.
I have no idea where they get that. Really, it's like when you hear people say that, I'm here because I choose to be. I love it here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Rochester, and I love Rochester, and I came to love it by meeting the people. And I'm talking top to bottom, you know, just really sitting down, having coffee conversations, talking like we met, you know. That made me like Rochester. Like I could stick around here for a while.
All right, so let's build some of those relationships right now.
Yeah.
And people listening could be anywhere, not just in Rochester. Mm-hmm. Let's teach something.
Yep.
On every episode, I ask my guests to teach something that people listening can go and try themselves.
Yes. So I say this is big. I love this. Art teachers are usually culturally competent. So if I go into a class, I'll give a great example right now in the class I'm teaching in the prison that I'm at, adults. I have a man in the prison from Mexico in the class. I have a guy in there from Poland. And this is a practice that I have. First, we meet each other. When we meet, I find out where everybody's from. And then I guide them towards the culture that they come from. I guide them towards it. I asked the Mexican guy, I can't say his name, so I have to just give the description. I asked him, have you heard of Montezuma before? And he said, yeah, of course. And he rolled up his sleeve and he had a tattoo of Montezuma on his arm. It's like, what? And I said, the color palette is what we're going to chase after. So I went and I started going after I said, you like that aesthetic, that style? He said, yeah. So I led him to start doing what he's most comfortable with. That not just comes from his culture, but whatever culture he's most interested in. Same with the guy from Poland. I came back after I found out he was from Poland. I was looking up Polish artists, Polish symbols and things like that. The flag, I came back with everything. We're going to go in this direction. You like that stuff? Oh, man, I love this. And he's excited because it's personal now. So leading people towards, I used to paint Celtic symbols and all kind of stuff, not just the African mask. I was doing everything, because I find all of it interesting. And if you're Irish and you're like, what's Celtic mean? And I've had that happen before. What's Celtic mean? Oh, this is what that means. Like, you ever heard of the Celtics? We're saying it wrong. This is what it's about. Boom. And it start going into the history, and boom, now I got this white guy sitting in front of this black teacher. And it's like, man, who would have thought we would have been together in the prison learning art? One of the kids said to me one day, he said, and this was profound. He said, oh, this is when I first started at the one institution. He said, hey, you the art teacher? I said, yeah. He said, man, I thought art teachers was white ladies. That's what this kid told me. And I said,
if that's what they've seen.
That's all they've seen. So I'm like, do I look like a white lady to you? And he was like, no, I'm just saying, man, I didn't know you the artist for real. So we have that connection with the kids. I want to say how I did it with them. I did music. Every week they gave me an album. I go back and listen to it. I come back and I say if it's trash or not. And they were waiting for their critique. So reaching people where they are as an art teacher is more important than anything. Get them interested by learning all the cultures in the room. Go back, do your research, and come back and give them that. And let them work on their own thing. And everything else will grow out of that. Last week was a breakthrough week in my class with these guys. They did portraits last week. This was the best week that they've ever done. Everybody was impressed with everybody's work. And it was like, oh, I got to send this home. I would love to have them. Because I collect too. I would love to have them, but they're like, I got to send this home. This is the best. I didn't think I could do this. But it started with me reaching their cultural stuff first and letting them explore it. And then it grew into the art.
So reaching their cultural experiences and sharing yours.
And sharing mine.
So that we don't perpetuate in somebody's mind, this is what an art teacher looks like. This is what an art teacher looks like,
yeah. Like you can be an art teacher. You can be an art teacher. Look at me, I'm an art teacher. And it's like, I don't know, that cultural part of it is important. Classes, I've been in art classes before, not in school. I took one art class in my entire life until this. Now I'm in my MFA program, but I took one art class and in my entire life, but I've been to workshops and stuff and people are in there leaning on their hand, you know? And kind of, you know, not necessarily bored, but not engaged because it's not about them. You know, they're not given an opportunity to express themselves. They're just doing what, I'm going to come to this art workshop. I'm going to pay you money that I worked hard for, and I'm going to do exactly what you tell me to do step by step. Like, man, forget that. Give me the technique and the skill and let me do what I want to do. So it starts with the conversation, find out what they want to do, how they want to do it, and say, this is the way that you can perfect that or make that better. If you use shadow and light or this and give them the technique and oh, wow, and then they'll do it. And you just get an excited, happy class out of that. Better than, I'm about to say something. Can I say something controversial? It ain't controversial to me.
No, go ahead.
I hate paint and sips. That type of thing, that artificial happiness type of thing. I don't like paint and sips because it's not, the cultural element is removed from it. And it's just me. I love culture, you know, but the cultural element is removed from it. And it to me, when that's removed, it becomes flat. It falls flat. There has to be a cultural element, you know, or what is it? You know, what is it?
Right.
You know, wine and creativity, I guess it's cool, you know, but I'm again, biased too. I don't drink, so it's like. Whatever.
But going back to the class I took with you, it was not paint and sip. It was you were engaging with us as we painted.
Yeah. Y'all had sparkling water and chocolate. Remember?
You did. I remember the example you gave when we started this conversation about the ball sitting on the table. That's what we were painting.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Introductory painting class. Yeah.
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 Here's this is going to be another one. You're gonna look at me and go, how am I supposed to narrow this down? Are there specific books that have had a profound impact on your perspective or outlook on life?
Oh boy,
something to send everybody away with that they're going to have to go look up now.
Oh my gosh, you know I was with the artist that I mentioned today earlier, Brittany Williams, last night, and she recommended a book, and I bought it right away too. It's called I didn't read it yet, so I'm not gonna mention it. I'll tell you the title though. Just go get it anyway, because start reading. It's called The Slave That Loved Caviar, and it's about the relationship between Basquiat and Andy Warhol. The title alone is profound.
The title, yeah.
So I bought that book right away. It's only like $12 on Amazon, so go get that. And but let me think. For me, the book that changed my life, there's not one. I'm sorry. It's not one. I read too many books. There's a book, I'll say this. There's a book called Breaking the Chains of Psychological Slavery by a psychology professor out of the University, retired now, out of the University of Florida, named Dr. Naeem Akbar. Book was written back in the 80s. That had a profound impact on my life. There's a book called Countering the Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys, Volume 1, 2, and 3. That had a profound impact on my life. I read that book when I was incarcerated. Actually, when I met my wife, I gave her that book. That was long before we were, engaged or anything. I gave her that book like right after we met, and she read it. A book that's I can give you one.
Okay,
I had to go through the list a little bit. J.A. Rogers has a book called From Superman to Man. One of the most profound books ever. I recommend it to everybody. Anybody that was willing to read it. Joel Augustus Rogers. He was a Black author from early 20th century. And From Superman to Man, it's just a story about him. He was a porter on a train, a Black man in that period of time. And there was a group of white men on the train having conversation. And one of them went to the restroom and left a physics book on the counter. And he started paging through the book. And the guy came back and said, "Hey, are you reading that book?" And he said, "Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, this is yours." And the guy said, "Yeah, but that's not the point. Are you reading that?" He was like, "Yeah, I was just reading a little bit of it." He said, "You can read that?" And he said, "Yeah, I can read it. I actually read it before." And he said, "You read that?" He said, "Well, not this one. I read the French translation." And that started a conversation where this white guy who was a racist started talking about the white race is a race of supermen. And he was debating this guy who was a porter on the train, and he just crushed him with scholarship and off the top of his head. And he said, "If you're so smart, why is it that you're a porter on a train?" There's a question you can't answer. If you're so smart. And he said, "Well, I didn't create a society that would put someone with my intellect or relegate me to a position in their society where I would be a porter on a train when I should be at the top of your academic, what they call it, the ivory towers. I should be at the top of there. But instead, you've created a society that will relegate me to this position." Incredible book. And it's called From Superman to Man because he said he reduced him from thinking that he was a Superman. You're just a man just like everybody else. Dope book. Incredible. That's one of my favorite books of all time.
I will put it on my list.
Yeah, you got to read it. It's a good book for anybody to read. Yeah. Man, that was a tough question. You asked about...
I'm having fun throwing the tough ones at you. Is there a particular life lesson you learned that you would like to pass on to others?
Yes. I don't think that me losing my best friend recently, it's like as you get older, and we were aware of this, as you get older, you start to become more aware of your mortality. I think about it every day. As I get older, I wake up and like, oh, my elbow is hurting, like for no reason. And it makes me aware that you become more aware that there's an end to this thing that we call life. So in every moment, I try to capture it and hold on to it. I think that plays into that memory of mine. I try to capture those moments and hold on to them. Moments with my children, moments with my wife, moments with you. So 30 years from now, somebody could say, "Hey, did you know Larry, the guy named Larry?" I could tell them the first time we met because I kept that moment. It was a snapshot. And I try to hold on to those. Now, this is where the anxiety comes from. As an artist, I want to preserve those moments so that the future can see them. I want the future to see these moments because it was important in these relationships, not just to me, but somebody else can be inspired by them. And I get anxiety about that. Like, how do I preserve? Do I write a book? I've tried that so many times. I got 10,000 pages or more written, but it's not a book. It's just notes that would lead to a book eventually. Maybe one of my children will pick it up after I'm gone. But it's like that anxiety comes from not being able to share those moments after I'm gone. But I'm in a constant pursuit of capturing them. My friend passed away, and I feel the only solace I have, and it's a good thing, is that I've captured and I hold on to all those moments that we had together. Quick story, when I met my wife, I was the chair of an organization called Uhuru Family Initiative. We used to do cultural education classes with young kids in Madison, Wisconsin. And she walked in the office. She was an intern in the office next door. And they introduced us, blah, blah, blah. Hey, how's it going? Shake hands. She walks out. And my friend turned around and he pointed at me. He said, that's going to be your wife one day. Right? That's a moment. And it's like, why'd you say that? I don't even know her. None of us know her. She walked in here for 2 minutes. But he said, I know these things. And he was right. I don't know how it happened, but it did. We kept running into her everywhere and boom. And then we named our daughter. And 6 years after she was born, my mother-in-law called and said, oh, that's cute how you named her after him. Her name is his name spelled backwards. We didn't even do that on purpose. It's just like those little moments. Like, unbelievable. How did that happen? His name is Harun, Harun. Her name is Nura, Nurah. Neither of us planned that. We just thought Nura was a great name for her. Oh. Yeah, so those little moments, I try to keep them and hold on to them because they're interesting, not just for me, and some of them are a little bit more intense. Like when I was a teenager, I used to cut school a lot. I was a habitual, what they call it, truancy? Truancy. Yeah. I was a major truant. I didn't go to school. I used to go to the art galleries and the museums downtown Chicago, and I spent time there. But there was lessons that I learned in there. A moment where me and my best friend Rocky met Muhammad Ali, right? I still got the autograph today, my prized possession, right? That's a moment. So capturing those moments is like, take the time to do that. And if it means take a journal and write it down, if you don't have a great memory, write it down. Record a little audio of just what just happened. But I think we have to start saving those moments because the world is it's like a microwave. Everything is fast. And that we don't keep up. We don't hold on. The news cycle, there's a big story. Something crazy is happening in the world. And next week, we're not even talking about it anymore. It's like, no, we got to preserve the important moments.
Well, we have preserved this moment that I have you here. We have recorded this conversation. We're going to share it with others. And I thank you so much for coming in and spending this time with me.
Yeah, you could call me anytime, Larry. You got my number.
I can call you. You're just never available.
I'm always busy, man, but I did show up, man.
Well, thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You bet.
Yeah.
To learn more about everyone on our program, follow the links in the show notes and at brushwithknowledge.com. This podcast has been launched with funding from Genesee Valley Council on the Arts and the New York State Council on the Arts. Recording has been done at Rockvox Recording and Production. To learn how you can help support the creation of future episodes, please follow links in the show notes or visit brushwithknowledge.com.